I am a fan of silence. Let's take a look at the Be Quiet Shadow Rock 3, the new Shadow Rock, new and improved. So the Shadow Rock 2, you had 4 heat pipes and a much finer, I guess, or a much thicker stack of fins. Now this one, it's a little bit different. Instead of being, center of mass on right in the middle, they've shifted the center of mass over to one side so that you can fit large RAM and also have a nice big tall tower cooler. Now you have 6 heat pipes in total, and we have copper contact right on the CPU to make sure that you can dissipate as much heat as possible. And then having it all shift over to one side, it is going to be a little lopsided if you try to set it on the desk. The first thing I did was set this thing on the desk and then turn around, and it fell into the floor, and I was like, oh, right. The center of mass is off to one side. So having more heat pipes, and also a really nice fan on there, there's the Silent Wings 3, and I'll tell you guys about in just a second. Having more heat pipes means that you need less thermal mass on top, and yet they've still been able to maintain a really good cooling profile. All in all, it's 121 by 130 by 163 millimeters, 0.71 kilograms, and this is capable of cooling up to 190 watts or dissipating up to 190 watts of heat from your CPU. So your socket compatibility, pretty much all the modern stuff except for Threadripper. We're talking Intel 1220, 2066, 1151, 1155, 2011 F3, and also the AM3 and AM4 stuff. So it's pretty much going to work on all the modern hardware except for Threadripper. Should have just left it at that. Much easier to say that. This is a really silent cooling unit, and a lot of that's thanks to the Shadow Wings 2 that goes on there. You guys can see there are all kinds of grooves cut into the fan. They're just like, not cut into it, but like there's all kinds of grooves and stuff, and that's really going to help. They claim that even at 1600 RPMs, you're only getting 24.4 decibels, which is about a whisper. As far as the overall design of the unit, other than everything being shifted over to one side, we do have a nice brushed aluminum style top that goes on there, and that's got the black painting in the middle and Be Quiet logo right there on top just to give it a sleeker look. I also want to mention that the Shadow Wings 2 is decoupled, which is kind of cool, and they've given us some extra like wireframe brackets so that we can install another fan on here. So you can put 2 of the 120 millimeter fans on there. I did have a Be Quiet 140 millimeter fan and couldn't get it to quite fit. I mean, I could have just like jerry-rigged it on there. What's up, Barnacles? And that would have worked, but I wanted to leave it as is and just test it out of the box. But you can add a second fan and do push-pull if you want a little more cooling. So that's an option. As far as the installation goes, I mean, a lot of times the installations can be frustrating, and I just feel like, you do it once and then it's over, so just deal with it. But this one is pretty painless, especially on the AM4 sockets, which already have a backplate there. It took me a couple of minutes, and I even I misplaced it. I found it like afterwards, but I misplaced the manual that came with this, so I was like, you know what, I got this, and I put a couple washers in the wrong spot and had to move those, but otherwise it only took me about 5 or 6 minutes to get this thing mounted. It comes with a nice screwdriver in the box and also some thermal paste to make it really easy to mount this. There's even a hole cut right here in the top, and it goes all the way through the stack so that you can screw this in and secure it on top of your CPU. So it was a very easy installation process. Haven't tried it with the Intel stuff, but it does come with a backplate. You just have to position that, and it should be about as easy as the AM4 stuff. All right, let's talk about what really matters here, and that's in my opinion, the sound. Is it noisy or is it not noisy? Well, of course it's not noisy. Now, comparing this to the stock AMD fan, that one was around the 55, 56 decibel range, and that's with the room tone, guys. It's not just, there's stuff going on here. I did turn off the other computers, slept all those to make sure that the room tone was as low as possible, but even then, we're getting like, somewhere around 40 decibels of just ambient noise in this room. So 56 decibels, the AMD stock cooler was not that loud. But when we were doing our testing, one thing that really drives me crazy is the CPU cooler, when you just set everything to auto, it will ramp up and down constantly, like vroom, vroom, and it sounds like a vacuum coming on and off when you're using just your stock AMD cooler. It's very annoying in my opinion. Whereas this one, yes, if you leave it on auto, it will ramp up and down, but it's so quiet you barely hear it. And it was typically under 50 decibels, even with all the room tone and everything, right here on the test bench. Once you get all this into a system, you're pretty much not going to hear it at all. The loudest thing in there is probably going to be your graphics card. So near complete silence, yeah, that's a thing. As far as the temperature goes on this, It wasn't an extreme improvement over the stock. The stock got up to 78 degrees after running AIDA64, doing full-on stress test for about 15 minutes, whereas the Be Quiet was at around 72 degrees after the 15 minutes of just stress testing the hell out of this 12-core CPU. The deal here, I think, with the Shadow Rock 3 is the fact that you're getting a lot of performance and a very silent cooler at a price point that's going to be quite a bit lower than a lot of the competition. I'm not going to put this into like the budget category as far as price goes. It's somewhere in like the mid-tier category when it comes to performance, but it also performs really well with silent. But if you put this into a silent case, like one of the ones from Be Quiet or something, it's going to be a very quiet experience. And that can be really good for audio creation, or if you just want to game with your speakers and don't want to have a vacuum cleaner or a jet engine sitting on your desk or beside your desk making tons of noise. But all in all, I think it's sleek. I think it's going to be really good for the money. They haven't given us the final price yet, but I'm imagining it's going to be a competitor that'll fit right in the mid-range and be quieter, as the name, be quieter than most of the competition. Even if it's a few degrees warmer than a couple in the same price range, it's going to be quieter. That's likely what's going to happen. I would have liked it to be a couple degrees cooler because there would be more overhead for overclocking, but this is not really for someone who's going to be doing extreme overclocking. A moderate overclock, you're going to be fine with this, but if you want to do an extreme overclock, you're probably going to want to go with a bigger, beefier, more expensive cooling unit that's going to be a little bit louder. So there you have it, the Shadow Rock 3 with the Shadow Wings 2 fan. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Be sure to head over and grab a t-shirt on epicpants.com, especially one of these. I don't party. Yes, political statements coming in the future one day, I don't know. See you guys in the comments.